Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network, coming to you from the TeacherCast studios since 2011. Join us each week as we bring you the latest educational news, EdTech updates, and hottest interviews with today's most influential leaders in education. And now, for your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Digital Learning Today, a show for instructional coaches, digital learning leaders, and anybody out there willing to use the ISTE standards for students and for educators in their curriculum. I am joined today by an amazing Massachusetts educator, a long friend of TeacherCast, a good friend of TeacherCast, Dr. Rayna Freedman. Rayna, how are you today? Welcome to TeacherCast.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
I am so glad that you're here. It is so great to reconnect with you. How are things up in Massachusetts?
Hot, right? They're hot. It's 90 in a school.
It is the middle of June, right? Like this is the time that we do these things. I hope you have plenty of air conditioning.
I do, but it's like a faux air conditioner out the window. It's not really a real one, but
it's a bunch of kids with fans that you just happen to point in the right direction.
No, I don't let them have fans. Those are too distracting this time of year.
I know there's a lot of people out there right now listening to this show going, yeah, I'm with you. It's 112 degrees in my room. There's no fans. There's no air conditioning. The windows don't open. What do we do with all of this stuff?
And I love that people assume that we all have air conditioning in public schools. Like they're shocked when I tell them we don't.
Yes. Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Yes. And the one thing that we are all excited for is that just in a few short days, we're going to be overtaking the city of Denver. That is right. The ISTE conference is coming up. If you guys are going to be in ISTE this coming conference, this end of the month, I should just say, please reach out. We got a lot of great things happening. I'm looking forward to a few sessions on Monday morning. We've got our Ignite session talking all about organizational things that you can do as an instructional coach and digital learning leader. I'm also taking part in the instructional coaches playground. I believe it's 12 to 2 o'clock on that Monday. Rayna, I didn't ask earlier. Are you going out to ISTE?
I will be at ISTE. I'm presenting almost every day.
Wow. What are you doing?
Yes. So Monday morning at 9:30, I'll be at the BrainPOP booth doing student-centered teaching with BrainPOP. And then in the afternoon, I'll be with the Base Camp for Creatives. That's run by Kim Zajac, Jackie Gardy, Dan Ryder, Manuel, and a couple other people. And I will be talking about a project I did this year called If You Give a Mouse an iPhone. And Tuesday, I will be talking about rewriting your district mission, vision, and core values with equity in mind. And Wednesday, I will be doing a how to blog and podcast with your kids, and it's called Ted Lasso Your Classroom Smells Like Potential. And also, I should say, Monday, I'll also be in the Magic School AI booth doing AI is Not the Anti-Hero. It's themed after the one and only Taylor Swift.
That sounds like a fantastic conference. And if you're out there going to ISTE for the first time, again, check out all the great stuff that's happening for both of our sessions. We're going to make sure that's all on our show notes here over on Digital Learning Today. But I got to tell you, this is that time to be figuring out what you're looking to do, what you're looking to pack, what you're looking to bring. Rayna, for the first timers out there, and even for people who have been to ISTE one or two times, what is your advice this time of year? How do you get prepared for ISTE? What are you looking forward to? Where should you be looking for resources? Talk to those ISTE newbies out there. How can we help everybody have a fantastic conference?
So I think one of the things is, and I don't know how much is sold out, but when ISTE does its schedule, to go on and see what's ticketed, because anything you want that's ticketed, you want to get those tickets early. Otherwise, you won't be able to get into those sessions. The other thing is be aware that sometimes there can be long lines for some of the speakers you really want to see. So you might have to figure out, are you willing to give up a session or see if something's going to be, they switched to the recording model. So some sessions are actually recorded. So see if there's something that's recorded that you're willing to skip to go wait in the line for something else. I definitely say bring one of these.
Yep.
I don't know if they can see it, but water bottle to refill and a comfortable pair of shoes. Know that I have friends that bring full suitcases just of shoes.
Shoes matter.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of already planned my schedule. It's really neat that you can go in and search by day and by things that are interesting to you. But I also say look at as much as you can, because there might be something offered that you might not know that you want to know more about it, if that makes sense.
That is great advice. There's sessions that I go to for the presenter, whether it be a topic, somebody I've never met, somebody who's been on the show and I want to just say hi to them. My advice to anybody out there is try not to put yourself into a session that is essentially a blog post, right?
Yeah.
And if you see a session called 5 ways to do something, that's probably a bloggy post topic, and there's nothing wrong with that. Check out all the notes, right? Because every presenter out there is asked to put, materials up on ISTE.org to make sure that they're all sitting there. Come up with that plan. And yeah, Rayna, after last year, I remember very clearly, I had a picture that went around the ISTE hashtags a little bit that was basically my shoes with a hole in each of them, just from the first 2 days of walking around Philadelphia in the convention center. And yes, the Denver Convention Center is a little bit bigger, and I think it's 3 or 4 levels high.
It is huge. It's also going to be, according to the 45-day forecast, it's going to be in the 90s when we're there. So definitely bring cool, comfortable clothing. Check the weather before you go. And also, I have to tell anyone who's listening, before you go, Google the DIA, that's the International Airport if you're flying into it, the conspiracy theories. It is fascinating when you read it and then you see it.
That sounds like a podcast episode that we need to put together someday.
Yes, it was awesome. I don't know how much I believe in it, but it's creepily, eerily weird when you go through the airport looking at things that you read about.
We're talking today to Dr. Rayna Freedman all about project-based learning. And Rayna, that is one of the things that I've been trying to focus on this year in my teaching at middle school. We've been putting students in groups, having them do projects. But I know you're doing a lot of project-based learning where you are. Talk to us a little bit about your classroom and your program.
So my students think they are student secret agents training for the student sector, the FBI. Everyone is given an agent number at the beginning of the year. It's not alphabetical, so I have to learn their name and their number. They pick it out of a popsicle stick mug like Harry Potter and the Sorting Hat, and I kind of like to think the agent number picks the child. And so everything's tied to investigation, and a lot of the work we do is project-based in all the content areas. And sometimes things aren't siloed, right? Because you can write and read and use your speaking and listening skills and your math skills in a science lesson. Like, who said science just has to be science? So it's kind of nice that we have these opportunities here all day to be engaged in different collaborative group projects where students are learning some real world skills.
And talk to us a little bit about how you set that up. Many teachers right now are going to be listening to this, trying to figure out, is this something that I want to do? Is project-based something I can just flip a switch with in the middle of the school year? Or do you start this on day one? How does all this come together?
Yeah, so I do a lot of work with kids where they start to get to know each other and build that community. I think if you create and foster a student community within your classroom, the kids are going to start to trust and want to work with each other instead of you will have kids that want to work by yourself. And there are obviously times during the day they are working independently, but we start day one with they're already sitting in tables in here, tables of 5 and 6. So they sit there, they meet each other. We do a lot of getting to know you activities the first, couple of weeks of school, but not just your typical 2 truths and a lie type thing. I mean, they make Instagram selfies where they have to do a digital version and a slide deck about how they learn. Because we can't see inside your brain, right? So tell us how you learn so we can all learn from you. What works for you so we know this, if that makes sense. We also do vision boards. I got that idea from Casey Bell many years ago, and they kind of share what their hopes and dreams are. So right away, they're putting themselves out there in front of their classmates and presenting, which is also a scary skill. And then we start doing some different small type of how to work in a group, how to listen to other people, how to compromise, how to share my ideas. And then we get into some group work. And then I'm always there giving feedback and scaffolding along the way.
You said that you are doing this in 5th grade. For many of us, elementary is our jam. For some of us, middle school is our jam. Is there a sweet spot that you found that this works? And is there an age range where you find that this might be a little bit harder than you're thinking it would be?
I don't know, because I taught 3, 4, and 5 and have always been like this in those 3 grades. So I know you can definitely do it with those 3 grades. You know, sometimes I sit there and I think about, like we talked about, I ran a committee to rewrite the vision, the mission, and the core values in our district. And we had to think about, you know, our littles, we have a preschool here. So our preschool kids and our Robinson kids who are the K-1-2 kids. And we really talked about how you could probably put anything in front of them, even a big word, and like talk to them about it. If you give kids the opportunity to shine, the tools they need to get there, they'll rise to the occasion. I find that when you set the expectations and model it and are there for them, they do it. Like I heard a quote from Gloria Letts and Billings on, I don't know if you saw it, there was a news story recently about 2 girls who solved, I believe, the Pythagorean theorem using trigonometry. And Gloria said she likes to think about, here are my expectations and here's how I'm going to help you get there. And I think when the kids know, here's my expectations and here's how I'm going to help you get there, they just do it.
And I love that, right? And I've been attempting this year to do project-based learning with my middle school kids. And obviously, when you're the new person, things are different. Also, I have to come to the understanding that when you walk into a school district and you, let's just say, think a little bit differently, that is a new thing for those students to come in, and suddenly you're moving at a 90-mile-an-hour pace.
I'm a rude awakening for a lot of kids, but the families, because I send the first 3 weeks of school, I probably send 17 emails home. But I also have a TLDR part of it where too long, didn't read. Here's the 5 bullet points for you, busy guardian. But for those of you that want to be, I want to know everything, here it is. And those are things I've typed once. And once I type it, all I have to do is just kind of revise it the following year. So it's not a lot of work now to do those things. Setting it up in the beginning as I went, it was. So all of these expectations are shared to home. And I'm really big with teaching my kids about policy and the handbook and the responsible use stuff because they need to know.
What are some of the pushbacks that you've had either this year or throughout the years? And please feel free, pushbacks from students, pushbacks from parents. You want to move in a direction, but that kid just doesn't want to do the project, or it isn't his jam.
I know this is going to sound like a pipe dream, but I haven't had any.
I know.
I think it's the approach. I think it's the communication. I think it's the I'm going to work with you on this. So I'll give you an example actually. And I don't necessarily think it was pushback. It was more of a parent being afraid, if you will, right? I see a lot of fear. So I have had, and for the audience, I do not have all gifted students, right? I do not. I have kids on IEPs, 504s, low kids, high kids, average kids. I had a selective mute, right? I've had the gamut. I've had kids with autism. So I expect the kids, all of my kids do what's called the Discovery Quest. It is a month-long research project. 6 kids go each week. So they do 1 a month. And they have to come up with it's evolved over the years, but the way it looks now is they have to come up with a question that can't be answered by a simple AI or Google search, right? That they actually have to put some stuff together. So they come up with this question, except the question they come up with, no one else can do. And once you pick a person or a brand or something, you can't do a person or brand again. So they really have to think, because they're doing 8 of these a year, what do I want to teach my classmates? Then they have to share somehow what they've learned, right? So back in the day it was Microsoft PowerPoint. Now it's Google Slides, Canva, science experiments, some hands-on things. And in January, I shouldn't say I force them to do it, but I expect students to engage their classmates in an activity. And I do get the kind of, my kid can't do this. My kid is not going to be able to do this. How do you think my kid who has XYZ is going to be able to do it? And my response is, can we try one? And if it's awful and hellacious, we'll figure something else out. We tried 1 and that kid did 7 more, right? So my student who many, many years ago that was severely developmentally delayed, I mean, I have not seen anything like it since and from that time. He loves bugs. So he did his DQ about insects and he brought in his little bug kit. And you better believe when he was up presenting, he was up at that board, but he was facing the board. His face was super close to the board, but he got up, he presented, he made a slide deck, and he taught his classmates about bugs. And his mom was crying in the back. Right? Because she was like, my kid's not doing it, but he did it. And then by the time the year ended, he's turned around and looking at the audience, right? So everybody's growth is different. I teach them Eric Palmer's PV legs strategy for public speaking, which is a great thing because it's poise, voice, life, eye contact, gestures, and speed, which is simple for kids to remember. And I have a rubric, and that's what I assess them on. Now I figured it out. So I meet with the kids by Wednesday, the Wednesday before they're due, because they present on Friday, to make sure that the presentation itself is solid. And then all they have to do is get up and share it. I mean, I had kids whose parents and guardians couldn't do it at home. So I actually have, my kids have the choice to come and have lunch in the classroom. It's something I did a couple years ago based on student feedback. So all my kids come back 5 days a week. So I'm literally not with my kids for recess and special. And lunchtime is like a working lunch for some kids. So any of my kids who couldn't do things at home, they did them with me at lunch. So again, I set the expectation and help them get there. I mean, I'm also the person that if a kid says to me, I need help and can you help me if I'm home? I mean, I don't have a husband. I don't have kids. So I have a little bit more leeway with my time to a degree. I will do Google Meets at night and support kids as long as it means they're going to be successful in the end. I mean, it's an hour out of my week that means more to them than it will ever, it means a lot to me, but it means way more to them.
Well, talk to us a little bit about that communication that you were mentioning earlier. What is it like to be working with parents and sending out 17 emails in a 2-week period? I mean, do you get feedback from parents? Do you get pushback from parents? Do you get hugs from parents? What is that partnership like?
I love that you're asking that. So in the beginning, it's overwhelming. I know that it is overwhelming, right? But by June, my parents are crying and my guardians are upset because they know it's never going to be like that again. And I mean, it tapers off, but the beginning of the year, like my kids blog. So yeah, that's new. So I have these expectations. A guardian's going to need to know about those, right? My kids are writing reading letters back and forth to me where pen pals about the books they're reading. I need to explain that. I mean, I don't send worksheets home. I'm not a worksheet teacher. Math homework is digital, right? So like there's a lot of learning, not only for the student, but you've people at home that may or may not want to, are home to support their child. And if they're not home, at least they know the expectations.
So many questions are popping through my mind right now. But
I overwhelm a lot of people in the beginning. That's the feedback I've had, but they also realize what it is. So like some people will take weeks, like I'll hear back from somebody 3 weeks later. And sometimes I never hear back from anyone. I mean, honestly, here's how I feel. It's there for the people who want to read it, but they can't say they didn't know.
Well, my first question was not as the podcaster, it's as the middle school teacher, which is, can I get a copy of all 17 of those emails?
Oh, there's like 50 of them in a folder.
Oh my goodness. I get all 50.
And I'll be honest, I only know that there were 17 emails the first 3 weeks of school because I got a new student in like December. And I said to my principal, I kind of need the parents' email before they come to me because I'm about to send them 17 emails at once. Because I always say, pack my class. I'm like the worst person to give a new student to because it's like sink or swim in here when you walk in.
Right. And I felt the same way. I mean, throughout the semester, I had 3 or 4 students. And look, we're moving. Like we've got the websites going, we got this going, all the templates are here. And obviously, look, to make these things for the students is, yes, on one hand, it's copy and paste the Google whatever. On the other hand, they now have an incomplete project that everybody's building on and building on and building on. And suddenly here's your template that I gave out 9 weeks ago. Like there's a lot of disconnect. I want to ask some of the questions that I'm sure people are asking themselves. Blogging. Let's nerd out for a second here. Please. Let's do application, reason for using, best practices. We'll kind of hit that. But you mentioned blogging.
Yep.
What do you do? How do you do it? Give us the 45-second answer on that.
So every other week, my students have a blog post due. It has to be at least 250 words, but no more than 350, and who wants to read that long piece? They get a Google Doc that they type it in. I give them feedback, and then they have to go through the feedback, so that way it's 5th grade appropriate and ready, right? And then I post it in, we have Blogger, so I post it in Blogger from their Google Doc if I have permission. If I don't have parent permission, I wouldn't put it in there, but I have all parent permission for kids stuff to go online. And then when I post it, it's written by agent number, not their name, so there's no identifiable information about the child in these posts. And they write about everything from vacations to favorite things, and some of my kids are doing different creative stories, so every other week you get another chapter.
So let me pause you right there.
Yep.
Rapid fire. Parent permission. Is that fill in a Google Doc? Is that everybody, all 100 of your parents are emailing you back? What's that method?
The school has one form that they sign off on at the beginning of the year. And one of the things, like the handbook, I read the handbook. I mean, everybody should read the handbook. Even teachers should read the handbook, but a lot of people don't. But I read the handbook. You know, my child has permission for their photograph to go on approved XYZ. Then what I do is at curriculum night here, I explain to guardians that when you check that box in here, this is what it means. Your kids are blogging. Your kids are going up on a podcast. Your kids are on our class Instagram account. They're on our class Facebook account. They're on our professional Twitter account. Like, I go over what it is and I say, if anyone doesn't want that, say so now. And here's how I protect your child's identity.
You also mentioned Blogger. Blogger is notorious for not being a part of the Google workspace. It's not under the educational domain. It's not under all of those different things. We know that there's ads, you know, that you can go to Blogger, click on a button, and it takes you to somewhere else. Why Blogger?
I was using that before the school even went Google. Like, I've been doing blogs for 15 years now. So because it was already an approved tool, it slid, like I was already using it, it sort of slid under that.
So with that, you mentioned you're not using student names. Do you have a, I'm gonna go nerd here for a second. Sorry for those listening. You're the author of the blog and you have one co-author, or you made 30 co-authors with numbers? That way every blog has an individual author to it.
It's one Blogger account, and all their blogs from every year we've done it are all on the same thing. But there could be 15 years of Agent 1s, 15 years of Agent 2s you could sift through.
Just
but
different,
it's posted by date.
Okay. Because I'm getting ideas for, can I do the same thing with WordPress, and can I do the same things with that? But obviously I don't want to be having kids making WordPress accounts and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, my kids don't have any accounts. It's pretty lock and key.
So you're the one. So when they give you the Google Doc, is there pictures on it, or is it just, you know?
It's in Google Classroom, so I push it out that way. So that way they're all writing on the doc, like template that I created. And some kids put pictures in. Some parents have emailed me pictures to go into the blog. Some kids draw pictures. I got a stuffed animal a couple weeks ago.
So the next question on there has to be time. Right. Now, I know you mentioned you've got a little bit of time on your hands, but the question is to do, let's just ballpark, 100 students, right? Give or take.
I have 23, but yeah. That's why.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's funny. I'm translating everything. I have 180, right?
If I have 100 kids, I'd have them give each other feedback.
Well, I just meant, it's funny. I was actually thinking more the time it takes to open a doc and then copy paste into Blogger, format Blogger, publish Blogger, done, right? Like for me to do 180 times.
It's a lot, but this is like, it does not take long at all for me to do it, because I'm, you know, A, I've been doing it so long, right? And B, it's Times New Roman, large, go. That's it.
That's pretty awesome.
Simple. Yeah, we've kept it pretty simple.
And what's the end result of that? Obviously, again, you said that students' names are not on this.
Nope.
All parents have access to it.
No, yes, but I don't the blog link, the whole blog link is shared in our Google Classroom and in my family portal. And then families get an email with the published blog every other week with like, here's your child's blog. So a link to the kid's specific blog. We also post that specific link on Facebook with a GIF that has to do with the blog, and on Twitter.
private Facebook, private Twitter?
Well, Twitter, no. Facebook, yes.
Okay.
And I've never gotten anything inappropriate. Some people have responded and some people haven't. But like, that's how, like, if a kid writes about something or someone and we tag that person, sometimes we'll get a like or a response, which is huge.
If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I've got many coming up here, all about how to do this. Please feel free to reach out over at teachercast.net. You can, of course, go to teachercast.net/contact. I'd be happy to get you in touch with Rayna here. If you guys have any questions. And of course, if you're heading out to ISTE, don't forget to check out all of her sessions. Speaking today to Dr. Rayna Freedman, all about project-based learning. And Rayna, you had mentioned you do podcasting. Yep. Let's go through those same kinds of questions. What's the platform? How do you set it up? What's the frequency? All of those different things.
So we have Wordly Wise here, which is the school's vocabulary book. And instead of just doing the book and taking a quiz, the kids do 2 sections of it, which is 30 words. And then they work in a group that I've assigned to write a podcast about whatever they feel the words have to do with, right? So I did from the pandemic changed a lot with this, because I used to have them write their scripts in a notebook. Now I have a Google slide deck. They all have the same intro, the same outro. They have to work together. It's a class shared slide deck. So there's like 75 slides, but all 6 groups are on there. So I can just go up and down like in the slide sorter and see where everyone's at. They have to color code it, have to highlight their words so I see the words they're using. But yeah, they work together with a group and create a script. So the words we just used recently, kids did a fictional story on a winter hike. Another group did Mount Everest. One group did weird sports that were out there, just to give you a couple of examples of what the kids did. And then when their script gets approved by me, I give them feedback, and then they have to get them approved. Like example, one of the groups just did the Great Depression and had some things about Herbert Hoover that I was like, let's fact check this. So, they learn about having to go back and look at sources. When it's ready, they use Screencastify to record it. And then I taught them how to export the Screencastify video as an MP3. And they share it with me. And then it goes into Anchor, which is now Spotify, which is where all our podcasts are held.
When you're putting all this together,
yep.
I still want to go back to the time question, right? Because everything that you said sounds amazing. Do you have a website that has all the directions for how to do all of those different steps? Or do you spend a week? What was that?
It's in the slide deck that they have. There's a template that they use. And the only thing I'm doing is giving them feedback on their scripts and then putting it where it needs to go public. They're doing the rest of it. We're very student run in here, but they had to learn how to do that in the beginning. But I only do the podcast, the Wordly Wise writing, twice a week for about 35 minutes. So it takes a little while. Like each group will get through 4 episodes a year.
Okay. So that's a good thing, right? Because again, I'm translating this to middle school speak, going, okay, even with having a website, even with having all the directions on a website, even with having videos, tutorials, you still have students going, how do I do this? Right. And I just point to the website, like everything is right there. But I don't know, maybe
like they even forget how to get the screen, like to hit the Screencastify arrow at the top and their little like extension toolbar. Like they have to figure that out. They sometimes need help with that.
So when you got blogging, you got podcasting.
Yep.
Give me the third thing. What else do you do that's out there that's pretty wonderful and amazing?
Oh my goodness. As far as like projects, or just, are you looking for something? Let me ask what you're looking for specifically.
Those are 2 pretty big adventures, right?
Yeah,
getting kids to do a weekly or bi-weekly, however long that's a big thing. And then on top of that, you mentioned that they're writing their scripts and they're doing their editing and those are 2 big things.
Like, and that's a small chunk of our day. I mean, one of the things actually we really love is we do this eco-region project, because the kids have to learn about ecosystems. And so they're put into teams, and Massachusetts is divided up into 9 eco-regions. I had no idea until I started looking into ecosystems in my state, right? And they have to come up with after they research their ecoregion, and I have to tell you, here's my little AI plug. It used to take me forever to find resources to support their work, but now with AI, I put it in ChatGPT. They're not on it because they're not 18. But that's how we get a lot of our information, and the kids learn how to like check what ChatGPT spits out and then uses it as a resource. But they learn about their area, and they have to come up with a problem in their area, and then they have to identify solutions that they could help their environment in our state. And then they work together to design a model and then build the model out of recyclable materials.
You're amazing. I'm running out of words on that. It just like, you're actually giving me a lot of ideas for next year of things to try, things to put together. I still would love to, shake you down for those 50 emails if that's possible, just to make sure that we're all on the same page for that. But there's so much on this topic that's out there, and I'd love to ask, where do you go for inspiration? And don't say Twitter. Where do you go to get your project ideas? Who do you turn to? Who do you watch? Who do you read? Who do you listen to? Like, what's on your professional development list?
You want the truth? I go to the kids.
I was hoping you would say TeacherCast. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I actually talk to the kids. Like, all of the projects I do are like, I might put them into the universe, but then I'm like, all right, what would have made this better? What didn't you like about this? What did you learn from this? What did you understand? Where were my directions not clear? I can't really ask an adult that. Like, we all kind of like, we're jaded in some degree. And I think kids just look at the world differently, and they need to feel valued and seen and recognized and part of this community. And the way I can do that is by including them in the lesson design for the following year. And then I say to the kids, okay, the kids last year said X. So I want to know, should we still do this, or is there something else we need to change? Right. So, and they know that. Like one of my students today, we started a project today, right? May 22nd, starting a project. And it's this graphic novel based on a triangle and using geometry words and Canva to do the graphic novel. But one of my kids is like, you made this. I'm like, how did you know that? I can tell. I mean, I watch a lot of TED Talks when I can. For me, it's just about imagining what I didn't have and what I wish I had. Mm. I mean, yeah, there's like, your EDU gurus, but I my own colleagues, like I talk to a lot of people out in the universe, and I have some really dynamic, Kim Zajac, Dan Ryder, very energetic, creative people, and they're awesome to run ideas by. But I really do have to say, sometimes it's just and former students, right? Like, and other people that I work with, like, what are you doing? And I Google a lot.
If you have any questions, we're going to make sure that all the links are over in our show notes, and that we're putting as much stuff as possible over on our show notes over at Digital Learning today. And thank you guys for listening. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, share this podcast with others in your PLN. Rayna, as we're sitting here at the end of the school year looking forward, I got to ask, based off of your students' feedback,
yep,
what are you looking forward to bringing in next year? Have you thought about that yet?
There are things like first of all, we're getting a brand new math program next year. So, and we're gearing up for a new reading program.
Okay.
So there are some things I'm going to have to start thinking about. What am I willing to get rid of that I've been doing, and what can I embed in it? So I'm currently creating, there's like in the unit 1, I do a math mindset thing at the very start of the year, like on my own, but the new program Reveal actually has a whole first topic is math mindset. And my kids make math memes about how they feel about math now. So I'm gonna have to figure out like, where could that fit in this program? Because I really don't want to get rid of that versus like some other stuff I was doing that I don't necessarily need to do, if that makes sense.
It does. And I want to make sure that every single time I have a recording this year, I mention the term, if nothing more than for AI sakes, or for I ruined it right there. For SEO sakes, yeah. Where does AI come in? I know you mentioned that you're using it. You kind of poke here and there, but you also said that you're going to be presenting with Magic School.
Yeah.
where's your secret sauce with all of that stuff? What do you use when no one's looking to make sure that you're running smoothly?
I've been using ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Magic School AI, but for different things, right? So to support for the students to use it, they've been using ChatGPT to learn how to ask it questions, learn how to sort of learn from it, what it tells you. For my own Magic School, I mean, that helped me do report card comments. It helped me give feedback on student writing. I did a brand new student writing project this year, and I designed a brand new literature circle thing this year. The writing project was called If I Gave a Mouse an iPhone, which I'll be sharing at ISTE, where the kid actually read the book, If I Give a Mouse an iPhone, which is a story about a mouse who needs to learn media balance. And then they all had to pick an animal and a device, and it had to go through some kind of narrative to do media balance. When I tell you we started in November and they're still working on it, I need to figure out why. And I don't know if it's attention, like they are engaged. So it's not engagement. It's just taking forever. And again, I don't do it every day. So I could, things might be different if I did it every day, but then I wouldn't get to like the podcast or other types of writing I have to do. So I sort of have to say, like, do I have to simplify it? Because I had them write the story. I took them through the whole writer's process, taught them revision techniques. And then we had this brilliant idea, which I loved it. My tech coach loved it. They're taking their story and making it into a picture book in Canva. And that's what's taking forever. So on the one hand, it's like awesome that we have those tools. On the other hand, I would have been done with this writing project had I not done the Canva, but the Canva is coming out awesome.
I have that same issue. We have access to Canva, we have access to Book Creator, we have access to all of those things. And again, middle school, right? So there's a little bit of a different component in there. And with all the tech that you and I have at our disposals and all of our friends in the tech world and stuff, I just found myself this year asking, if I spent an extra 3 days and asked them to put their things into, you name the tech tool, are they learning more gooder? And I shied away from a lot of the stuff. Even, the companies that I've been working with for 13 years, I shied away with because I want to make sure that they're getting the skills and let's move forward, not getting the skills. And now I'm going to spend 3 days fighting them to do this thing that doesn't really add the extra value to the project. So I appreciate your conversations here because I'm finding so much of what I've been through. Sorry, this is not podcast therapy for anybody listening out there right now, right? So trying to figure out what we're going to do next year, that's obviously the summer mission. That's obviously the stuff that I'm going out looking for at ISTE. And, Rayna, do me a favor, please, come back on, right? Like, we're talking at the end of August or here. Love to have you come back on. What's the school you're going to look like? How you setting it up? How do you survive day one PD? And communicating with those parents. So many things that we're looking forward to, especially as we go into the summer season. Outside of ISTE, what are you working on this summer? What can we look forward to? And where's your website and stuff that we can grab all these things from?
So this summer I'm giving PD through EdTech Teacher. They have this great summer pass that anybody can sign up for. It's a couple $100, but you get access to a plethora of PD, and they're all recorded as well, so you don't have to show up live if you can't. They're housed until 2025, they just said. So I'll be doing a week on building relationships with Google tools, spice up your ELA classroom, and then the Ted Lasso your classroom with how to blog and podcast.
That's
and
awesome.
I college coach. I've been doing that about 19 years, so I'll have that going on because my clients start now with applying for colleges. So that's always fun. And then I'm hoping to get to Miami.
What's in Miami?
I have a place down there, so I'm there like every couple of weeks. So I love the heat.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to get down there, but I can work from down there, right? And then I'm also doing some like mini camps here at school in July, a Shark Tank and a Taylor Swift one.
That's awesome. If you guys are out there, please reach out to Rayna. We'll make sure that all of her social links and stuff are over on our show notes. Rayna, we've been talking about this a lot. There's a lot of stuff to cover. If you're out there listening in the archives, we just had a great show on project-based learning. We talked about how to use Lego and how to create videos and stuff. Check out all that stuff over on Digital Learning today. This is, I believe that was episode like 19, 20, something like that. So check out all the great stuff that's happening over there. Dr. Rayna, thank you so much for coming on today. Please come back.
I would love to. This was so fun.
And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and share this with all of your friends. On behalf of Dr. Rayna Freedman and everybody here on TeacherCast, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you guys to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.
You've been listening to the TeacherCast Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter @TeacherCast or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.